Hello and welcome to Fractal Model 23.6. We have 4 exciting updates for you. The first is that we've updated our automated bidding. This is the tool that co-optimizes between the battery physics and the market forecast that you put in. What we've done is added some new optimization techniques, and now it's easier to optimize with real-time forecast. Second, we take the price forecast that you put in, we give you really nice summaries, including statistics and different ways to do TB2, TB4s, and different ways to group the data. The next update is for those that have always wondered, how can I change the size of the battery, change the size of the solar, and see how that affects the project? So now we have tables that show you different sensitivities or different scenarios for various combinations of solar and storage sizing. The last update sort of goes with the first one. It allows you to schedule peaks. So if you are trying to mitigate peaks because maybe you're on behind the meter, this will allow you to schedule peaks during certain times of the month. And then for the rest of the hours, you can optimize with the pricing in that area. So let's get started. First thing to do is to show you how we have updated our automated bidding. And I'm going to bring up the Fractal Model add-in. We will go to the schedule page. And the new feature is this button that says enable real-time arbitrage. This is different from before. Before, when we ran the models and you wanted to include arbitrage, you needed to go down here. You essentially needed to put in a delta or your strike prices for buying and selling in real time. Now we've automated that for you. So we take the real-time prices in the forecast and we just run the financials compared to the day ahead forecast. If it makes sense to do energy for that day, energy arbitrage, then we just do it for you and we optimize the revenue on your behalf, or really the rate of return on your behalf. So now you have 3 ways of running the model. You can include real-time prices or not. And then also you can run a perfect scenario or more of a moving average. Depending on the data set, maybe is only a 5 to 10% difference in your revenue. But sometimes we see really big differences compared to what I would call a more conservative look back versus a perfectly executed clairvoyant strategy. So let's run this first scenario. We have some random prices in here. We're going to click on the Optimizer tab and we're going to hit Get Schedule. And after a few seconds, you can see that we have a schedule for 20 years. One of the more significant things is that now instead of having color codes and letters, we're just showing you what service was performed in this hour and what capacity the battery that it used. And interestingly, when it does regulation, it'll show you what percentage of the battery used for the regulation service. And we actually have another neat feature that we've added where you can tell the model whether you want to keep reg up and reg down as separate services or just always bid them equally. So if you do allow it to do separately, then you could have a scenario where you do reg up with, let's say, 60% and reg down with 80%. So now it gives you a whole lot more flexibility and allows you to do things like charge with reg up. So it's a nice feature that maybe a little bit more real world, a little bit more advanced. If we scroll back up, the next step is to dispatch this. What that does is it runs through all the physics along with the financials and gives you essentially your finished run of the model. Now, just for fun, we will run the optimization without real time. You can see a pretty big difference here. So with real-time energy, rate of return was 10.8 over this 20-year life. Now it's about 3.1. So pretty drastic. Let's do one final run. We're going to turn real-time arbitrage back on, and then we're going to run a look-back strategy. So this is a moving average, or some people call it persistence. We're going to blindly bid in the day ahead what worked for the last 5 days, or what would have worked best over the last 5 days. So let's run this. All right, so this strategy performs even worse than taking out real time. And this is really interesting because in most markets, when you run this type of strategy, not a perfect strategy, more of a momentum strategy, what we call persistence, you typically only lose 5 to 10% compared to perfect or clairvoyant. But this data set is really extreme, and I wanted to show it to you because sometimes that happens. We've tried to find the most extreme data set. In this case, you're losing almost 40%. So this is pretty drastic, but it can happen as you're going into a process where you're either trying to sell or buy a project. You've got to understand there's a certain influence that real time has, and either you're comfortable with that as a buyer, or maybe you're conservative and you just look at the day ahead. Now let's take a look at the price analysis. And these are summary statistics of the market prices that you've put into the model. It's just an easy way to summarize what's happening, what the trends are within the price forecast, and maybe some behavior you should expect given these high-level statistics. So we're giving you averages, we're giving you somewhat quartiles, and then we're also giving you TB2, TB4s, whatever you want to pick. So you can come in here and you can tell the model, I want the top 2 using real-time energy, or I want the top 4 using day ahead, or you can put in whatever TB that you want. And what this is doing, it's taking the top 2 hours, so your 2 highest prices, your 2 lowest prices, it's calculating that delta, and then over the 4 hours, top 2, bottom 2, over those 4 hours, it's giving you an average revenue for those 4 hours. We could also change this up. Maybe we're interested in 3 hours. So we put 3 hours in here. We run it right quick. And you can see that all the numbers changed. And of course, they're going to change to the downside because as you go longer duration, the peaks are less high, the lows are less low, so your average gets affected. And you can do that both on a real-time price basis and the day ahead. So here you see day ahead prices. So if we go to TB2 on this day ahead, you'll notice that prices will go higher because the top 2 and the bottom 2s are more spread out. And then we have this heat map that shows you the average monthly price for each service: day ahead energy, real-time energy, reg up, reg down, spin. So it's giving you that monthly average for all of the 20 years. The next new feature is this sensitivities or scenarios tab, where you can put in different sizes for solar, for the BESS, and it'll give you the different results from the different sizes. It could be revenue, it could be solar production. In this case, because we've been demoing a storage only, we could come in here and ask, how much revenue it's getting from the different types of services, and you can change up the sizes just as easily and run different scenarios. The last thing to show you, we can incorporate peak mitigation with optimizing revenue. And the way we set it up, you can tell the model, I'd like to reserve however many days per month to mitigate peaks. Right now we have a pretty big number. Maybe this is too big. Just for instance, we could come in here and we could say 15 days of the year, I think I'm going to need to shift energy using my battery so that I'm sure that we will offset that peak. So you can run this, and what happens, it will find the 15 days of the year with peak prices, and it will assume that those peak prices mean that those are the hours you need to offset, and it just won't schedule any revenue for that hour because you're essentially offsetting your load. This adjusts for those physics, it adjusts for the financials, and then later if you want to put in any cost savings, we could do that in the cash flow. So if we run this, all right, we ran it, and the rate of return was 10.8. Now it's more like 9.4. Remember, this could create either savings or actual revenue. So we'd want to add that back into the cash flow. But you can see it has an effect on how the system performs, how it's scheduled. It makes a big deal in performing the analysis. All right, those are the updates for Fractal Model 23.6. Thank you for being a subscriber of the Fractal Model. We're trying to make it better and better for you. If you would like a demo of the Fractal Model, please reach out to us. You can either send it to info or to Rahul or to Daniel at fractalems.com. We'd love to do a demo for you, and we'd love to support you on your projects. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.